I am Vikas, and I'm in the UCS BU. How many of you are familiar with UCS BU?
Wait until he's done, and then you
Good. I have a couple of slides to talk about them as well. So I'm in the product management role, and I'm focusing on AI ML product portfolio that we rolled out. And today, me, along with one of my colleagues, Debo Datta, will be walking you through the infrastructure solution that we are rolling out to let the enterprise customers run their workload in the data center. So, and I wanted to bring that distinction because within Cisco, we are also using AI ML to improve our product. But this talk track is more about how do we enable the enterprise customers to run their AI workload in the data centers, the challenges that we face, and so forth. The way I have organized the agenda is we'll start about talking about why is it now? I mean, AI ML has been talked about for several years. So what is this all excitement that we are talking about it? Why is Cisco making investment in this area now? Second, we'll talk about the use cases as to what we see, which prompted us to take this area seriously and consider it as a done deal rather than hype. We'll have one slide to talk about, is this the new business disruptor? Then we'll go into some of the challenges. So as we started rolling out the solutions, we wanted to ensure that there are certain challenges that the customers are facing to solve them. But before I talk about how we are going to be solving this with the strategy and the products, I will spend some time on identifying what those problems are. And again, this is all geared towards accelerating the adoption of AI ML workload in the business processes in the enterprise data center. So let's start with a very high-level context-setting slide on what the AI ML deal is. And my colleague, who is a data scientist, will do a far better job when he comes in his session, but I will keep it at a very high level. So from my standpoint, the act of artificial intelligence is really about learning from the data and making the decisions. So machines are learning from the data and making the decisions or inferencing the things in almost real time. And this is a sort of picture you will see often again and again. Act of artificial intelligence depends on some level of machine learning. It could be simple, or it could be fairly complex, depending on the data set you're trying to learn from. For example, if you're learning from images, videos, voice samples, it could be very, very complex. So some of the examples that I put together. But first, at the heart of it, at the simplest possible level, you're learning from the data, existing set of data, to come up with a model, a mathematical model. Then as the new data comes in, instead of querying the database, you're going against the model to predict what that thing is. So very, very high level, simplistic form, it's that. Now, there could be two forms of learning you could do. A simple learning. Let's say you had the database of all the households sold in California. And you wanted to come up with a way wherein as soon as a new house came into the market, you're able to predict the price, let's say on the basis of location. So in this case, location becomes your feature. And again, you hear about the feature engineering and all. I'm giving you a very simple example. So location becomes a feature. So you pick an algorithm. Fortunately, there are many algorithms available there, and Debo will go into the details. You pick an algorithm, feature is location. On the basis of existing data, you try to come up with a model. Once your model has come out, you're all set. As the new location comes in, you plug in the new location, and you get the price. So instead of manipulating and trying to think about what the price will be, this one gives you that thing right away. Again, it's a very simple example. There are many more things going into that one. Now, not in all cases this will work, because this one, at least this data was more human readable, text-based, and so forth. But then there are cases where the data is no more human readable, right? This is very different, like images and video samples. So there you use a different technique. This is where the neural networks comes into the picture. So what you tend to do is you pass on a bunch of those pre-labeled images or videos through this neural network. And every layer of the neuron tries to remember certain aspects of those labeled objects, so that once once they are trained and you pass on a new image which is not labeled, you get an answer what that is with certain level of accuracy. And you keep an eye on that. It is in the context of deep learning that the GPUs are important. The first one, the simple level of simple learning, the x86 FPGAs were good enough. It is the deep learning where the GPUs really help. And the last two columns indicate why, because that's where you need tons of matrix manipulation. Some of them I can't even understand even today after having spent so much time. So this is where the GPU is. And as we talk about Cisco's desire, or at least UCSBU's desire to get into it, there are a certain variety of market factors that are counted in. I have put three aspects which personally appeal to me. First, the prediction that by 2020, the businesses who are driving their processes, leveraging the machine learning techniques, will steal away roughly $1.2 trillion worth of revenue from their counterparts who are not. Second, by 2020, it is predicted that 8 out of 10 enterprises would have already deployed machine learning techniques at least in the customer support, customer services side of the thing. It's free. And by 2035, it is projected that machine learning principles will drive the business efficiency up by 40%. It's impactful. And truth to be told, whether we recognize or not, it is already here. We're using it in our daily lives at the consumer level, which is not the focus of this talk track. Most importantly, the bellwethers of the industries are already using it. They are the ones who really started using it. And they are the ones who are pushing the standard enterprise also to start looking into it very seriously. So if I come back to the question as to why now, why it was not there before. The first slide is very obvious. It's about data. The volume of the data that is arriving, the velocity with which it is arriving, and the heterogeneity of the data that is arriving, it has become impossible to use the standard analytics techniques to mine meaningful information out of it. It's just not there. You need a new way to mine the analytics and make the interpretation in the real time. But just having the data tsunami doesn't solve your problem. You need infrastructure to host the data. You need computing power to do that. And you need the right set of skill sets to be able to come up with algorithms. And that's precisely what has happened in the recent times. These three areas of innovations have almost come together. First is about the infrastructure to host your data in a cost-efficient and a very scalable way. This is where Hadoop and the ecosystem around it has come to help us. It has really made it simpler and cost-effective. Second, the rise of the computing power. The GPUs and CPUs, and we'll talk more about it, are just changing the definition of what the computing power looked like in the past. And the third, if every company had to hire data scientists, if every company had to invest in that skill set, this will not be taking off. Good news for us, because of the open source investment, where if Cisco is also contributing, there are ready-made libraries coming in, frameworks coming in, which allow you to go and start doing the machine learning, deep learning, and to start deploying this entire framework end-to-end. So data, combined with these three things, are basically fueling the growth or adoption of AI/ML in the industry. The thing that we observed is AI/ML, even though it is in early stage, and I'll show you how early, what we are seeing is it is being embraced across all the industry verticals, all listed here. Not all of them I have captured here. And the reason it is being adopted is it is answering the business question. It's no longer R&D topic. I'll take one example. So business question, for example, becomes, how can I determine something at a lightning speed, whether that is present or not? That translates into AI task of one of the algorithms, which will come relevant to your business, your data type, to come up with that model. Implication of that is, for example, let's take finance. That is the technique which allows the financial companies, like for example, credit card companies, billions of transactions going on. You do one credit card swipe at desired location, and you immediately get blocked. It doesn't happen because you're going and querying the database. It happens because you're using one of the AI principles so you can detect it in real time. Same thing with healthcare. You did your MRI scan, you came back home, doctor has not looked at. Since machines were trained to look at those images, they flag to the doctor some anomalies there. Completely unattended, and so forth. I'll just quickly populate the slide. This will be available. This basically tells you AI/ML is actually answering the business questions, and that is why it is being embraced across all the industry verticals. Lars. But it is still only at the beginning. A slide from last year. Gartner had done interesting analysis. They have a new report is coming out this year. What they did was they queried enterprises of certain size and above in terms of where they stand with respect to deploying AI/ML in their data center. As you would notice, only between 6 to 12% are the ones who are close to deploying or have already deployed. So the tsunami of opportunity is towards my right, your left. Those are the enterprise who are waiting to jump in over there. And there are some challenges. So, but before I talk about the challenges, let me, from the infrastructure standpoint, let me draw out again at a very high level what the enterprise workflow looks like once you adopt AI/ML principles in your business processes. Life will always start from the data infrastructure. You need data to start, to learn. So that's where it starts. The more the data you have, the better training you can do, the better accuracy you will drive. After that, there is a phase called preparing the data. And this is where you need to take a look at the data, come up with the goals as to what feature you are going to be looking at, what condition the data should be to drive the learning from. Once you have done that, you go and train the model. You have picked an algorithm, you have the prepared data, you run it, you let it run with certain size of data, you keep an eye on the accuracy of the model, and you come up with the model. Once the model comes out, you test it with untested data, the data that model has never seen. Once you are confident, you go ahead and deploy it. You still keep an eye on the accuracy and repeat the cycle as the more new data comes in. So very, very high level, this is what the workflow looks like. Again, at the very high level workflow, if you translate into the packages, the infrastructure that make it possible, one of the use cases is this. You will have big data side of the thing, handling the first two arrows. You have the open source frameworks to help you do the training model and evaluation of the model. And then you have endpoint devices where you will go ahead and deploy the models. The endpoint devices are also sending the data back in, but they are also the ones who are receiving the models to infer the things in the real point. So what are the challenges that we are seeing? Again, we are also in the early stage. We have just rolled out our AI/ML product portfolio. We made an announcement on September 10th. How many of you are aware of that announcement that we made September 10th? Oh, sorry.
Missed that one. Wrong crowd.
All right, we need to fix marketing. All right, so we are also fairly new. We rolled out a bunch of product portfolio that we'll be addressing in this segment. But the challenge that we saw, the first set of challenges that we are addressing it, and there will be more as we go ahead and learn, is following. The customers who didn't belong into that 12%, 6 to 12% in the Gartner slide, all those enterprises at the CIO level, CEO level, they do want to have AI/ML strategy. Their marketing wants it. They want to talk about it. They're afraid that if they don't have this AI/ML, like I was pointing out, they will fall behind. Challenge is, they're not sure where and how to embrace AI/ML. They want it, but how, where is the skill set gap that we see. Second, since the desire is there, and since this is a very highly active field, almost everyone is coming and pitching to them that this is the nirvana. This is where it will solve it. And if you look at how many companies are coming and pitching, this is what it looks like. And this doesn't capture all the logos, just in case you're wondering if some of them are missing. This is very active field. So from our point of view, what the enterprises are looking at is simplification of this. They're looking for guidance. They're looking for simplification of this so that they can deploy it in their business processes. There's a change, as I pointed out, the 5-stage journey. It's change. On top of that, if this complexity exists, it basically slows down their adoption. Second, once it passes the business processes, ultimately IT within the enterprise has to maintain it. And that's a fundamental change in the IT side of the house as well. First, this requires the distributed data sources to come together, the putting together of data lake, which at the scale, at the volume, that they have not done in the past. Second, it's a new field. Data scientist is a new customer. Most of the things are open source. How do they support internal customers? So it's a little bit of challenge going on there. And finally, this level of volume and velocity that is coming in, they're forcing them to define and come up with a solution which can survive at scale, at that level of velocity, at that level of volume, and so forth. So their ask that we see is, give us a siloless, simple to manage at scale infrastructure, which has been pre-validated with some of those packages, software, so that they don't have to wrestle with the supportability aspect of it. Aligned with that, so our strategy and product portfolio at a very high level. So first, I have put together a slide on what the UCS is before I talk about what the AI/ML product portfolio is. So UCS Business Group was started over a decade ago. We entered the compute market with a differentiation that we conversed the compute and the very essential aspect fabric with it. And we kick-started that market, which is also called as converged infrastructure space. So we had converged compute network. We partnered with leading storage vendors of the time, NetApp, EMC, and kick-started the converged infrastructure market. Turnkey solution reduces the complexity, and we are still continuing to be number one. In Blade, we are number 2 worldwide. In hyper-converged space, Hyperflex, we are the recent entrant, but we are already number 3. We are known for performance. We are known for maturity, resiliency. Enterprise data resides on us. Very importantly, we have seen tremendous growth in big data side of business of ours. This is important because what we are seeing is a customer having the big data has a higher chance of adopting AI/ML space. It's almost hand in hand. It's going. We have over 64,000 enterprise customers, mostly in the Fortune 500, where AI/ML initiatives are happening. Our product portfolio ranges from edge to core, branch offices, to ingredients to power your data center, to converged infrastructure solution, to hyper-converged infrastructure solution, to the storage optimized gearings. AI/ML product portfolio will be a net new add to this. So what is our strategy in light of opportunities that we described, the challenges that we described? Try to keep it very simple. We want to focus on full data lifecycle, not isolated one aspect of just the training or just the inferencing. Second, we want to keep it simple, and we want to make sure that ITs don't face the challenges of managing it at scale. The first one is about full portfolio of AI/ML computing needs. So there are the 3 vectors. You want to start with data, do the training, and you want to have the inferencing. So you want to make sure that our product portfolio covers for all these 3 phases. Next, the simplicity is driven from the fact that you want to make sure that the software that the enterprise are going to run in their data center are pre-validated, so there are less chance of them making mistakes. And then the third, doesn't matter which product of UCS you use, they will be all managed through the common manageability umbrella called Intersight or UCS. I'm going to have details coming up. So if I do a double click on this strategy to see what I mean by that, so the very first point was the full compute needs for any stages of AI/ML deal. So there we have 3 offerings. 1U rack servers for inferencing use case, 2U either with Hyperflex or standalone bare metal for test and dev. Typically, the customers get started with some level of lower amount of investment to prove and validate theory. And then once they graduate, there's a third one, deep learning, which is a net new add. It is, I have more details coming in, but this is 40,000 CUDA, the appliance which packs over 40,000 CUDA cores, monster. Irrespective of whichever you choose, whichever product portfolio, they will all be managed through a common manageability umbrella called Intersight. Are you familiar with Intersight? Okay, perfect. So Intersight is our cloud-hosted management platform, and it lets you manage any asset of UCS within across any geography from one common pane of glass of management. Complementing this hardware portfolio is our partnership that we are driving with the software vendors who are leading in this. If you remember that chart, which is very busy, we have handpicked few of them that we are working with them. First and foremost is Google. That's where we are expanding our relationship to have the same software on-prem as you get when you go into the Google for developing the AI/ML space. And there's a whole the second half of the session, Devo will be focusing on that. We're also working with some of the lead data science software providers who have made who have gained a significant mind share in the data scientist mind, like Anaconda and all. They're doing the self-certification on our platform. Very importantly, since I talked about, we see a strong correlation between the customers having the big data deployment and their desire to move to AI/ML. We're expanding our relationship with Hortonworks, Cloudera, MapR, to have their solutions validated with the AI/ML angle factored in. And there's some Hadoop 3.1, data science workbench that I'll talk about just a bit. And finally, the delivery model. So we focus on working with our channel partners so that they can take the ingredients, the 2 ingredients on the left, put together the solution, validate it, and deliver it to the customer side. If I do a double click further on the hardware, on the platforms that we are rolling out, 3 categories: test and dev and training, deep learning, and inferencing. Test and dev, 2 offerings. The bare metal 2U rack servers with up to 2 NVIDIA GPUs, P100 or V100 class. Then the next one is hyper-converged one. So what we are seeing is a need for a desire from IT to consolidate even AI/ML development work within the common hyper-converged infrastructure they're putting together. Besides consolidating VDI, VSI, oracles, they are looking for ways to consolidate even AI/ML workload there. That's where every converged node will come with choice of 2 P100 or V100 GPUs. If you already have HyperFlex cluster, we provide you with an option of compute-only nodes with a bunch of GPUs so that you can you can have the VMs running over there with the AI/ML workload. For the deep learning, once you have graduated and you really need a really powerful machine to accelerate your training, that's where these 2 products come in. 480 is already out in the market. It provides you with a choice of up to 6 PCIe-based V100 or P100 class GPUs. And the one that we just announced, and it will be shipping out late November, is 480 ML. This one has 8 SXM2 V100 GPUs, NVLink interconnected. NVLink is important. It's a monster, over 40,000 cores. And I have a video coming up which will do a lot more justice than what I can.
Is this just compute, or does this have a storage component?
It has
as well?
Very good question. It has storage. So this box has 8 GPUs and up to 24 drives, all front-loaded. And out of those 24, 6 could be NVMe drives, each one of them Gen 3 by 4. So if you think about it, each one of them is 4 gigs, so up to 24 gigs. So the data pipeline is completely unclogged, from the drive to the DRAM to the backend subsystem where the GPUs reside. Does that answer that? Yeah. So that's so very high level, 8 SXM2 V100 GPUs, NVLink GPU interconnect. The latest Intel Skylake generation of processors, part of the UCS family, so you get all the robustness, resiliency that UCS is famous for. And it was launched September 10th, orderability last quarter, FCS the last quarter of this year. So let me see if I can play this video, otherwise. So that's the new platform that we launched. And this one just covers the details of that. It has storage, network, up to 400 gigabytes per second going out. And it's going to be validated with several software platforms that I'll cover just in a bit. Our latest and greatest new offering for the deep learning workloads. Okay. So now if you take a step back and thought about the various product portfolio that I showed in the 3 slides earlier, and try to map it out to how it will map into the user's journey as they transition from being classical business to a business powered by AI/ML. The life starts from, again, thinking about what aspect of business is going to be benefiting from, and hence it starts from the data lake. So that has been our existing business for many, many years. When you go into a phase where you need a quick validation, because pumping in money right away at larger scale is not advisable. So we provide a turnkey solution working with our partners where you can bring in 3-node HyperFlex fully loaded with the software, drop it into your big data environment, for example. It has connectors to let the data scientist pull in the data. Data scientist can experiment, come up with the model. It has environment to share the model, load the model, and so forth. So you get done with that. Once you have proven the value, then you go into the broader design aspect of model. And that's where you would need higher-end C480 ML M5 solution with 8 NVIDIA SXM2 GPUs. Then you go ahead and deploy it. So this is where our next line of product comes in for inferencing needs. You deploy that. And then finally, you go into the model management. So we have sort of at a very high level mapped the entire journey that the user would take as they go ahead and embrace the AI/ML workload in their business processes. So in our view, the data center infrastructure, as they transition from being just supporting the classical business to enabling the business to have AI/ML, would look something like this. The start point is always the standard servers, standard storage, and network with big data or data in there, from where the intelligence will be driven. As you deploy the AI/ML infrastructure, you'll get some servers, appliance, and new set of software stack. But for AI/ML development, you need to have a common, you'd be leveraging both the side of infrastructure. Since both the side of infrastructure need to coexist, you need a common manageability umbrella. And since this is a new field where users are looking for guidance to get them started, we're looking at specialized services to help them. Where Cisco stands today is this is where our bread and butter business has been so far. On the accelerated compute side, either we already have the ones that we announced or we're building some more. On the specialized machine learning software stack, we are creating the Cisco validated design where we've taken time to go ahead and validate the software so that it makes the life of IT easier. On the manageability, UCSM Enterprise management is extended to any new product that we are rolling out. And on the services side, to help our customers get started with the journey, we are creating a specialized partnership and also augmenting the Cisco advanced services. So that was about our strategy, the products, some level of software. But Cisco also takes it to the next level, where we try to come up with the solutions so that customers' life is easier. So how are we building this solution? So at the heart of it, we start with the core ingredients. So you have UCS servers, 1U, 2U rack servers, 4U rack servers, and the new one that we released, or Hyperflex. The first level of solution validation comes with validating it with data science, popular software framework, and the platforms. Google, NVIDIA, and other partners that we are working with. Once you have this base ingredient ready, where you can do the AI/ML DL work, you need to connect it to the data side of the framework. So that's another Cisco validated design coming in, where we will put this as part of the big data framework, for example, leveraging either Data Science Workbench or Hadoop 3.1 in future, so that customers have a recipe to put it together. IT has a recipe to put it together in a pre-validated fashion. We'll not only just focus there, but we are also going to be rolling out the Cisco validated design in future with our converged infrastructure partners. So wherever the data is, this one will go into the site to make the life of IT simpler. And finally, this one will also evolve to, as we work with our channel partners, we'll help them evolve the professional services around these offerings. Some of the committed solutions, Cisco validated designs are around this. First, the Cloud Data Science Workbench. If you're familiar with this, they are the first ones to come up with, in the Hadoop world, the first ones to come up with the packages which lets the data scientist using the big data lake to leverage the GPUs and create, do the machine learning and so forth. Second would be the Kubeflow, the Kubernetes TensorFlow. Debo will be going it in detail, so I'll avoid that. And third, the Hadoop community is going to be seeing the arrival of 3.1, where it will be native integration into the Hadoop stack for leveraging the GPUs for machine learning stack. So we'll be rolling out the solutions with that one. Any questions so far? I have only 2 slides left, and I have 8 minutes. So anyways.
I got lots, but you might as well, if you've only got 2 slides left,
Just
let's
2
do
slides. Okay,
those.
let me just, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what are the target customers that we are going after first? We can't address the entire spectrum of the market. So we chose certain customer base or customer characteristics that we are going to go after. First is the big data. We have significant business there we are seeing the customer demands. So our Cisco validated designs are going to be focusing on that. Either they can deploy the new one as part of their existing cluster, or they can put together a cluster, ground up for that one. We are also going to be focusing on the customers with NoSQL databases. Again, they are the ones also showing the strong desire to move into the AI/ML space. Next one, we'll be working with some of those SAP and SaaS of the world who have already embraced the utilization of GPUs as part of their software stack. So we'll be validating in our platform so that, again, the customers get the turnkey experience. We will be augmenting our HyperFlex software offering more so that customers can have AI/ML development platform within the hyper-converged infrastructure itself. And then finally, we will continue to work with ecosystem to enable them to roll out the turnkey solutions leveraging our ingredients. Some of them we announced at Cisco Live earlier this year, and we'll continue to do that. And finally, if I have to step back and paint the picture beyond the data center. So you see this is part of the data center BU, but Cisco has assets across multiple different BUs. We are one of the few companies which has the products from edge to core. And impact of AI/ML is exactly that. Training happens in data center. Data is hosted in the data center. But ultimately, models are deployed onto the edge device. So as we move forward in future, we want to make sure that we have the solution, the turnkey solution to address this end-to-end for the customers where deployed models could go into the edge devices, while the training can happen into the data center and all managed end-to-end. Something like this. So this is one of the example CVDs that we aspire to build so that edge to core you are connected for the AI/ML standpoint. Okay, so that's a wrap. I know I did a speed talk.
It was fast. That was great. So typically when I hear about AI/ML solutions, they're all cloud-based for the burstability and the scale-out. But it sounds like your target customer might be, for instance, like a manufacturing shop where they know their workloads, but they're doing AI DL all day long, almost the same. Do I kind of get that right? That the trade-off for an enterprise is going to be how often and how much and how we use ML versus...
Absolutely. I think that's you exactly got it.
Yeah.
That if, as an enterprise, your AI/ML workload could be fully catered from the cloud, hands down, you will go there.
Yeah.
Because, it's easy to get started. You are not maintaining anything. Turn it on, turn it off, all those things are there. But if you're an enterprise where you have plenty of data and you have also concerns about sending it to cloud, so data locality, data gravity, amount of data that you can put in, and you have to learn at scale. In those scenarios, it becomes challenging to send the data out. Again, training can happen. For the training, you need the data to be sent.
Yeah.
For inferencing, then you need to bring it back. So what we are seeing is there are two scenarios. One, there would be a complete, there's a completely two different buckets where the entire thing could either fit in the cloud or entire thing will fit into the enterprise. So that's one. The second is hybrid cloud.
Yeah.
In some cases, you will train there and deploy it onto the edge device, or train here and push the model onto the cloud side. So this is where our another round of investment is going on, which is where Debo will cover. How are we ensuring that our customers, irrespective of where the AI/ML workload will run, are able to perform those things? So we are working on that one as well. Yeah.
Okay.
I know I rushed a bit because time was playing in my mind.
You have a couple more minutes.
Couple of more minutes? Okay.
Yeah. Let me think of my other question I had. So it also seems like, we talked all about the AI/ML, and I'm all happy with that. But then in sort of your summary and towards the later, you're talking about how it fits in with your previous big data offerings.
Yeah.
So is this really, are you thinking of it as an extension of those specialized, I forget what you called those things that you were going to add it to? But that's what it seems like to me. Do I have that right as well?
Yeah, so you got it. So what we're saying is, as the new product portfolios are coming in, and we are pivoting it towards the use cases that we are going to take it in, we have clear visibility on these ones that have shown either the desire or they're already onto their journey. So that's where these 4 or 5 are coming. Now, the big data customers, interestingly, have shown a stronger desire to move, and they're early movers compared to other ones.
Yeah.
Accordingly, we prioritize that one. So we will be doing the solutions to make their life easier. So if they, for example, have cloud data deployment, Cloud Data came out with a data science workbench.
Yeah.
So we will be creating the Cisco validated design around Cloud Data Science Workbench so that the journey of these class of customers becomes simpler, and so forth. So it's the ingredient, the software, and the Cisco validated solution targeted toward these three are the first. But there will be more as we go forward.
Yeah.
As we learn, we are also learning.
And did you just forget to put IoT on this slide? Because it should be there.
Yeah. So IoT, I tried to.
I found it. Oh, I found it. Okay, I missed that.